What is up, everybody? I am HoopsandHipHop. So if you have been following my channel for the past little while, then you might have heard about a little project I've been putting together called Pokemon Cardinal. And if you haven't, then this video is literally made for you, because in today's video, because the premiere of the Pokemon Cardinal series is literally a week away at this point, I'm super excited. I thought I would go ahead and answer all of your questions that you have about this series, which is why I asked for your questions earlier in the week, and just explain in general what this series is all about, because I do have a lot of people that I guess don't really get the full picture of what it is, even though I've tried to really communicate it in the trailer what it's about. So I thought, just as a bit of hyping up before the big premiere next week, that I would go ahead and just give you guys this big explanation and answer all the questions that you have about the series, to just give you an idea of what to expect come next week. So with that being said, let's get into it. Okay, before we actually get into your guys' questions that you asked, I'm going to just answer the biggest general questions that I've been getting since I launched the first trailer for this series all the way back in September of last year. And that's basically, is Pokemon Cardinal a game? Like, what exactly is it? Well, to answer that question once and for all definitively, no, it's not a game. I've tried to communicate this, I even have said it in the trailers, but Pokemon Cardinal is not a game. Essentially what it is a series where I have created my own Pokemon region, my own brand new region filled with Pokemon that I've created, characters I've created, a story that I've written, basically everything that you would have in a main regular Pokemon game, I have made for this series, and I'm going to be taking you through this region and telling you this story and introducing you guys to these Pokemon in a video series. So even though, no, it's not a game, it's still going to have everything that a game would offer, it's just presented in a slightly different way. It's got kind of a visual novel type style, which is the phrase that I've used to kind of describe what it's going to look like. Also, if you haven't been able to tell just by all of the imagery, if you've seen any of the trailers or anything like that, the region of Pokemon Cardinal that I have created is a region that is based on Canada. No, I am not from Canada myself. I just really appreciate Canada in general. I like what it has to offer, and I think it would make for a good Pokemon region, so it is set in that part of the world. I think that pretty much nails all of the basic stuff we need to know before we get into the questions though, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the questions. I'm going to answer as many as I possibly can within a reasonable amount of time, and I'm going to start with the ones my patrons asked. So first question to start off, from Linda, what made you decide on the frozen tundra setting? Well, as I said, this region is based on Canada. Obviously, Canada is very cold, and I chose Canada and just, I guess, the coldness of it as the setting for my region, because I thought Canada, just as a gorgeous place on the earth, would make for a wonderful setting for a region. I also very much love Canada's geography with the mountains and the cold and the snow. That is very much my style of place that I enjoy being in. That is my kind of place, essentially. So that's why I picked it. Dakota wants to know, will the gyms be intense? Well, in a setting like this, in a format like this, where you obviously can't participate in the battles yourself necessarily, because it's just a video that you're watching, the battles were sort of tricky to kind of figure out, because I wanted to include them, but there's only so much you can do when you're just watching it, and it's sort of this, like, visual novel style where there's not a ton of animation or just movement going on, but it is a sort of thing that's going to be different, and you're kind of just gonna have to watch it for yourself to know what to expect. But I genuinely I've made it as exciting as I possibly can, and there's a lot of really cool things with the battles to look forward to. Nix asks, is the series going to be a storyboard style, as in just like still frames, or is it going to be an animation? And they also want to know how many people are involved with the creation of the project. Well, it is not storyboard style. Well, it's more storyboard style than it is animation. What you guys have seen in the trailer is essentially the format that it is, where you've got the characters on screen that are talking and stuff, and they've got a slight, like, idle animation to them, but it's not a full-blown, like, anime style animation, which is why I called it more of a visual novel type thing. And then as far as people being involved in the project, I mean, I don't know how many people, like, exactly, but there are a lot of people. I'm the only one who is writing it and making up the Pokemon and things like that, but then I've got several artists who have made this a reality. People like Bonus Level, Oscar Belmonte, Elite Four, just a bunch of really talented people that have brought this to life. And then I've employed a bunch of fellow Poketubers and different people to bring in the voices and people to do music. So there's a good amount of people, even though it's like me, like it's basically just me at the helm. There's a lot of really talented people that are making this like an actual real thing. Thomas wants to know, will the male and female trainers travel together, or will they have their own separate adventure? Well, the female and male, I guess the player characters, they are basically just like player characters in Pokemon games, where they are the avatar for you in the game. And that's the same situation here. They are going to be representing you, but just like in the actual Pokemon games, the story doesn't really differ depending on which person you play as. So essentially, the male and the female player character as the protagonists of the story are going to be following us as we go along throughout this series. Adrian wants to know, when did you come up with the concept for Cardinal? Has the project changed much from how you originally imagined it? Well, I came up and started working on the idea, I believe it was late summer of 2018. I think it was like August or something like that of 2018. So it's been basically 2 years that I've been working on this. It's been a very, very long amount of time, and I really do think that amount of development time is going to show once you guys see the final product, because like I said, I just wanted to put everything that you find in a main game, or at least as much as I could, into this project. So everything that you can expect to see in terms of a full Pokedex, a full cast of characters, a really cool story, just all that type of stuff that you come to expect from a main series Pokemon game, I wanted to be able to include in this. And so that's what took me so long. And as far as the series vision, it really hasn't changed from what I imagined it like. I had a very clear idea of what I wanted to do when I started it, and when I finally got to the point where I was making the videos themselves, it actually turned out just as I pictured it in my head, which was a really cool thing to see. So once again, I'm just really excited for you guys to be able to see it for yourselves. Alright, now we're moving on from the Patreon questions to just the general questions that I fielded from Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. First one being, which Pokemon was your favorite to make? This is incredibly hard, and a question that I don't know if I can answer properly right now, because I haven't revealed all of the Pokemon that are obviously coming to this series and that are going to debut, and I don't want to spoil anything, but ones that come to mind that I can talk about right now are the starters. Obviously, they were a ton of fun to create. They were basically my babies. I just worked and worked and worked at them until they were as good as I thought they could be. Another one that comes to mind is Scaraboo, the ghost caribou Pokemon. Just playing on, kind of doing a little bit of wordplay with the caribou name and making it a ghost type. I was really proud of that, and it felt really creative. Is there going to be a sub-legendary trio in this series, or is it going to be like X and Y or Sword and Shield, where there's only the main trio of legendaries present? Well, I don't want to spoil anything, don't want to give you too much information before the series launches, but yes, there is an actual sub-trio a la Moltres, Zapdos, Articuno, Entei, Suicune, Raikou, that sort of thing. There is a trio like that in this project that I'm really looking forward for you guys to be able to see and learn about. Another really good question that a bunch of people asked is, how big is the Pokedex? Well, as I said before, my goal with this was to make it as big as a full-fledged game. I wanted the Pokedex specifically, as well as everything else, to be just as big and as grandiose as you could expect to see in an actual real Pokemon game. So with that said, I don't think I want to give you guys the exact number, but I will say between brand new Pokemon, between the Tundra forms, and between the Mega Evolutions, which are basically the 3 different types of Pokemon we have, there are over 100 kinds of new Pokemon, and they're all done in the professional Sugimori style, and they have a lot of refinement to them. I am really proud of the way the decks turned out. I spent a lot of painstaking hours just tweaking things to make them as good as possible, and I'm really, really proud of it, so I can't wait for you guys to see every single one of them. Alright, next question. Where did the idea for Pokemon Cardinal come from? Well, it came from a couple different places. First, I gotta give a shout out to Mr. Buddy because I was really inspired watching his region videos. I just really loved the way that he created this big, huge project that he could work towards that was just kind of larger in life than a lot of ways, and I wanted to create something like that. And then it also came from me creating Pokemon when I was a kid with my cousin, and we did this same exact thing that I'm doing with Cardinal as kids, just on paper with pencils and crayons. And now that I have the audience to share it with a lot of other people, but also the assets to make it something more professional, I wanted to do that. And I just wanted to make something really big that could just blow people away. And I'm hoping once it comes out that it'll be able to do that, because I worked really hard on it. I'm not gonna lie. This has been a long time coming for sure. Alrighty, here's another really good question from Instagram. Who is your favorite starter of the three, and why did you choose the title Cardinal? Well, I want to say first and foremost, I've really loved seeing who everyone else's favorite is. I think I kind of have a different perspective because obviously I created them and I technically know all their final evolutions and you guys don't. But overall, with all that said, Embit is my favorite. Like, just him in general, I really, really love the way he turned out. I'm really, really proud of him. I also really like his evolutions as well. I love all of the starter Pokemon, to be honest with you. Narwade was one of my original Pokemon that I made when I was 12 years old, so I have attachment to him. Shrubberoos as a moose Pokemon is just really my speed. Once again, it's why I wanted to make a Canada region so I could make Pokemon like that. So I love Shrubberoos for that reason as well. They're all my babies, so me saying Embit is my favorite isn't really like... Embit's not really that far ahead of either of them. Because I really love them all so much. But if I had to pick, it would be Embit. And then as far as where the Pokemon Cardinal name came from, well, I wanted the name of my game, quote-unquote, to go back to the roots of how Pokemon games used to be named, where they did it off of, like, colors, for instance, with the first two generations. And so I wanted to name it after a color, and I decided to go with Cardinal because Cardinal is a shade of red, and red is one of the colors, one of the national colors of Canada that's on its flag with red and white. And so Cardinal just kind of fit because it sounded cool. It's obviously not been used before, and representing the actual cardinal bird, that's another thing that sort of has that Canada vibe, if you will. I'm genuinely not sure if cardinal birds live in Canada or not, but it just kind of fit in with the whole message of just like nature and stuff like that I'm going for with this region and this project. So it just overall like fit the best for what I was going for and what I wanted the name to be like. Are you basing any towns and cities in real-world Canadian places like Toronto, Halifax, and Vancouver? Yes. Every single town, city, location in the region is based on an actual real-world city. And I think for people who are actually in Canada that know the different locations, I think you'll be able to recognize a bunch of them. And so I'm really hoping I do you guys proud. I've never been to Canada in my life, so I don't really have a lot of personal experience, but I did as much research as I could do reasonably to make sure I did this region justice and did it the way it should be done. So hopefully you guys that are in Canada enjoy it. One question that a couple different people asked is if there's going to be any crossover with the actual Pokemon games in this, if the story is going to overlap, or where it's set in the timeline of the main Pokemon universe, or if there's going to be any returning characters from the actual Pokemon games. Well, that does kind of get into like plot related type things, and I don't want to spoil it one way or another, but I will say, just to sort of give you guys an idea, that a part of this like process of creating this that really I wanted to stick with was I wanted to make my own stuff. I wanted it to sort of be original as possible, not completely just like isolated from everything else that has to do with Pokemon and the world of Pokemon. I didn't want to go that far, but I did want to make as much of my own stuff as possible because this is my project, if that makes sense. Several people also asked if the gym system is going to be like the traditional gym system or if there's going to be something different like Alola's Trials, and I will say, traditional gym system is intact. There's 8 gyms that we will progressively go through as the series goes on. You'll earn 8 gym badges. You'll go to the Pokemon League, and another thing that I will say that I also wanted to go back to is with the Elite Four and the Champion, I wanted them to be sequentially ordered, because in Gens 1 through 4, you had a specific order to the Elite Four, but then since then, we've had a style of Elite Four where you can pick which one you choose and you can go in any order. I wanted to go back to the sequential order because I feel like that really sort of made part of the challenge of the Elite Four, because you had to go one after another, and they sort of got progressively tougher as you went along. I wanted to go back to that, so that's how I formatted it. A really good and important question that Josh from YouTube asked is, how long of a series is this going to be? What is the average episode length going to be? And how often can we expect new episodes to be uploaded? Well, as far as the length of the series itself, it's going to be pretty decently sized. I did want it to run for a little bit after we started uploading episodes, so it wasn't immediately done and over with after I just worked on it for 2 years. So I won't comment on the specific total number, but there is going to be a pretty good amount. It's going to be a pretty good size series. As far as the average episode length, right now that's running about like in between 10 and 15 minutes, so it's around, I guess, 13 minutes or 12 and a half minutes, but that is not necessarily strict in terms of how long I'm wanting to make them. They certainly can be longer than that, but that's sort of where they're averaging out. And then as far as how often I'm going to upload them, my plan is to upload 2 episodes every other Saturday. So this Saturday for the premiere, there's going to be 2 episodes uploaded, and then 2 weeks from then I'll probably do 2 episodes every time. So from there you'll have 2 episodes, 2 weeks later you'll have 2 episodes, and the reason why I'm doing this is so it doesn't completely take over my channel, because I'm still planning on doing regular videos and I don't want those to get overshadowed. And then I also wanted it to run for a little bit, like I said, so it wasn't over as soon as it started, since I've worked on this for so long. So by doing it every other week, it allows the series to run for a few months and be around for a while, so we can really kind of just soak it in and enjoy it. But then at the same time, every time it's uploaded, you get 2 episodes instead of just 1, so you get a good amount of content. So I figured that was the best way to sort of just make everyone happy and just do the best with all the factors, with all those different factors in consideration. So hopefully that works for you guys. Next question, will the plot be different than the plots that we have seen before in previous Pokemon games as far as plot twists, character development, etc.? Well, I will say first and foremost that I'm not a professional story writer by any means, and I did sort of follow the kind of story that Pokemon games put out in terms of just like how they progress and their style and whatnot, but there definitely is at the same time more of a focus on making it an actual story, because Pokemon games sometimes are light on the story and not a whole lot happens, because that's not necessarily what the Pokemon games are about. With this story, I did want to make it a little more story heavy. I did want there to be some plot twists and some shocks and some twists and turns and that sort of thing. So you definitely can expect a little more of that than you're used to in a particular Pokemon game story. But it definitely is, as far as how it flows, the Pokemon style of story, if that makes sense. Next question, is there a reason why you chose to make this a whole series rather than just doing a few videos about it? Well, there is a specific reason, and it's basically just I wanted this series to be as big and as huge and as grandiose as I possibly could. I wanted it to be the kind of thing that knocks people's socks off. I wanted to include everything that you see in an actual Pokemon game in this series, and so I just wanted it to be just as chock full and as complete and as just well thought out as I possibly could. A lot of times when people make these sorts of videos on YouTube, it just is a video or 2 or 3. I didn't want to stop there. I wanted to be able to make a full-size Pokedex of Pokemon and show you guys all of them, but I also wanted to show you a full-size region and go through it with you guys and basically show you where these Pokemon would be. And then obviously I wanted to have a story and an evil team and legendaries and just and characters as well. I wanted it to be as much of a Pokemon game as it could possibly be, even though it's in this sort of like video format instead of a game. And that's why I wanted it to be a series, because I just wanted it to be as grandiose as I possibly could make it. And the last question I'm going to answer, I actually can't really find it in my notes, but I know it was a question that was answered that I thought was really good, so I wanted to answer it to round off the video. And essentially it was to the effect of, would you ever consider doing more videos like this in the future, like future series like this? And to answer that question, I absolutely would. I've had a blast with Cardinal, I've loved it, and this is definitely the sort of content I want to make moving forward as a complement to my regular content. And so if the Cardinal series can do really well, the support on it so far has been awesome, and I thank you all so much for it. But if it can do well, this is definitely something I'd like to do moving forward and sort of like build off of this. Like, take the things I've learned from this series, apply it to another series, maybe even like connect it with like story details and stuff like that. The possibilities are really endless, but if Cardinal does really well, like I'm hoping it will, it's certainly something I would love to do. Well, there you have it, everybody. Hopefully I answered as many of your questions as I could, and hopefully you have a little bit more of an idea of what this is about if you were confused before, and I really hope you guys are excited about it, because I certainly am so hyped for you guys to finally see what I've prepared for you. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, comment down below with any further thoughts you might have, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, because the Pokemon Cardinal series debuts 1 week from today. It's basically going to be full steam ahead from this point on, so I hope you guys are excited to see everything that I've put together for this series, because I am beyond excited to show it to you. With that said, I will be back on Tuesday with another video, and until then, as always, I love you guys very much, and I will smell you guys later.